What is going on, guys? Welcome to Barrookie. In today's video, I like to talk about functional anatomy. Everyone who starts to train, whether it be for hypertrophy or for strength, comes into contact with anatomy, and some people have a great understanding and some people just have a basic understanding. And today I want to amp that one up if you are in the basic kind of group, because for me I find it very difficult to differentiate between information that is very useful and information that is just over the top and way too complicated and that requires a PhD to really understand even what is being talked about. So I followed an anatomy class. I need to do an exam on that, so I thought, why not make a basics series on anatomy, so I learn how to teach and you learn what I teach. So without further ado, let's get to it. Today we're going to talk about some fancy schmancy words that are getting thrown around, and we're going to talk about them. We're going to explain them in depth, not too in depth or this video is going to take too long, but we're going to talk about them, we're going to explain them, why they are used, and in the next videos we're talking about joints and how they work, what muscles are the prime movers, and what you need to know. So we're not going over like last time we did a series on muscle madness, which wasn't really that good. It was actually total crap. Today we're going to do it better. Today we're going to do it more awesome, and we're going to talk about position first. So if we're looking at basic anatomy, we have an anatomic position, which is really standing up straight with your palms facing forward. That is the anatomic position. So if we look at the front, we see the ventral side. So ventral means everything on the front. Dorsal means everything on the back. If we're looking at the hands and the feet, the palms of the hand is palmar and the back of the hand is also called the dorsal side. If we're looking at the feet, we're also talking about plantar, that is the underside where the sole is, and the top side is also called dorsal. The most important ones are medial and lateral, in my opinion. Medial means everything that is close to the midline. So if we're talking about the quads, you have the medial side or the medial bundles, and you have the lateral bundles. And lateral means further away from the midline of your body. If we're talking about anterior and posterior, we're talking about relationships between positions. So anterior pelvic tilt is your pelvis tilting forward. So anterior means to the front. Posterior is like posterior pelvic tilt, where your pelvis is tilting backwards. So posterior means to the back. Sometimes you also see words like superior and inferior. Superior doesn't mean that it's better or anything. Inferior doesn't mean it's less. Superior means that it's just muscles that are laying superficial and that are more based for movement, where muscles that are inferior are usually laying a little bit deeper and are more for stabilization purposes. Alright, that includes this session. So next up we have the planes and the axes of movement. So in order to very much differentiate movements of different joints and to really get a solid base on it, we need to talk about the planes. So we only have 3 planes because guess what? We're living in a 3-dimensional world. So this is basic geometry. We're just giving those planes a anatomic name. So the plane that cuts your body into halves, left and right, is called the sagittal plane. The plane that cuts your body into front and back is called the frontal plane, and the plane that cuts your body just right into the middle is called the transversal plane. Now we also have movement type of words, so like flexion, extension, adduction, abduction. What does it all mean? Well, flexion is typically bringing stuff together. So if you're bringing your chin down to your chest, you're doing a flexion of the neck. If you bring your torso down, or you're like crunching your abs, you're also doing a flexion of the torso. Flexion of the biceps, everybody knows that. So everything is in the front, above the midline. Below, we're talking about flexion of the knee if we're using our hamstrings and if we're closing in our legs together. Now, extension is the opposite of flexion. So extension means to extend your limbs. If we're talking about flexion, we meant in the sagittal plane. If we're talking about the frontal plane, we're talking about lateral flexion. So that you can see here. Boom. Then we have abduction and adduction, and I had a really long time searching for something on how to remember these words, but actually it's super easy. If you're speaking English, ADDuction is to add stuff together. So ADDuction, bringing your arms closer, bringing your legs closer to the midline, is ADDuction. Bringing them further away or moving them further away from the midline is ABduction. So ABduction. And then we have endo and exo rotation, also known as internal and external rotation. So endo rotation means to turn inwards. So if you turn your palms in, if you turn your feet in, that's endo rotation or internal rotation. And if we're talking about external rotation, we're talking about facing the palms towards the front of your body or moving your feet outwards. That's external rotation or exo rotation. I think we're there. Yeah, we're there. So this was a basic, very intro-like video on anatomy. We talked about the words, we talked about the planes, we talked about the movement words. And next up we're going to talk about the torso, where we're going to use these words, implement them, and see how the torso works. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something out of this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Comment down below. Even if you find this video crap, please let me know what I can do to be better. And I'll be seeing you all in the next video. Peace!